Good morning, everyone. I've talked about all of this before. I actually have a link to the first video I did in this video, so you can check out the first video because I talk about Mr. Barton and what his connections are. I'm going to touch on them a little bit in this video because it's important, but I've talked about this before. I talked about this literally last year, I think in October last year as well, and December, etc. Anyway, here we go. Globe and Mail is reporting Canada's China envoy, part of group urging higher immigration for economy. Spooked by rising anti-immigration sentiment in Canada, particularly in Quebec, a business group that includes Canada's ambassador to China, Dominic Barton, has published a blueprint for preserving the country's economic prosperity by welcoming newcomers and tripling the population over the next 80 years. The Century Initiative tabled a detailed plan on Thursday for ensuring Canada's next generation enjoys the same standard of living as the one that preceded it, centered on boosting the population to 100 million by the year 2100. I'm going to pause here really quickly. The generation preceding my generation could go to a big city like Toronto and purchase a 3-bedroom home and be able to afford it on a single salary. We have increased the population quite a lot since then. I think possibly doubled since the 80s, but I don't want to misspeak and say I'm for sure about that. But we've certainly increased the population by a lot since the mid-80s. And that is no longer true. My son, I couldn't go to downtown Toronto or a suburb of Toronto or Mississauga or Vancouver or Montreal and purchase a home. I don't even think I could probably do that now. And so, how is that a better standard of living? And how would increasing the population without the infrastructure to maintain them make sure that our kids had access to a better standard of living than we've got? Because unless I keep my house, I'm pretty sure that neither one of my children will be able to purchase or buy into a real estate market in Canada by the time they're ready to buy a house, which is in 15 to 20 years. So that's a real concern. Why is it a real concern? Because I'm watching 25-year-olds now who can't buy into the market. So why would I expect it would be any different for my children? This is garbage. Back to the article. The bulk of this growth would come through increased immigration, as the Century Initiative's research shows that current demographic trends, including fertility and new arrivals, will translate into a population of just 49.7 million in 2100, with a high proportion of aging, underproductive citizens. The population currently is 37 million and change, and they're saying that if we go up to 49 million on the current trajectory, most of those people will be too old to work and we'll have a deficit in young Canadians. And if we don't have enough young Canadians, we don't have a tax base to pay for the old age entitlements, which are entitlements because it's our money. We paid into that, right? It's not like we're paying taxes for nothing, although it seems like we're paying taxes for nothing at this point in time. Let's give more money to other people in other countries. Yay! And then re-elect Justin Trudeau. Anyway, it seems silly to expect a different result. Hey, you know what'll fix this problem? More people! Shouldn't we spend money on infrastructure and make sure that, the people who are here are happy with the things they can purchase with that money? Are people happy with the fact that you get a little balcony in your condo instead of a 3-bedroom home with a front lawn and a back lawn and a driveway? Are you happy with your one parking spot? No? Oh, tough. Because in order to maintain that lifestyle for your children, we need to increase it to 200 million, 300 million. When does it stop? Let's make it 1 billion. Forget 1 million. We got lots of room in Canada. Let's have economic prosperity for everybody. Let's move the whole world here. You morons. Ugh, just ridiculous. Just so sick of this garbage. Okay, back to the article. Quote, we realize that the active measures to increase Canada's scale will run into the headwinds of current countervailing political forces that reflect a more skeptical public mood. Okay, I wanted to stop here because I wanted to say, this sounds like a training manual on on something you would give a new salesperson. And when you meet a new salesperson and they say, how do you sell things, when the person says no, and the old, wiser salesperson says, we realize that active measures to sell the thing will run into the headwinds of current no's. But that reflects a skeptical public mood. But that's just the first no. You come back with a different answer. You come back with a different offer and not even really a different offer, just a different way to say the offer. And here's some proof. The majority of Canadians don't want increased immigration. That's the global news. And that's June 16th of this year, 2019. We're in October. Majority of Canadians think immigration should be limited. And here it is, 63% of respondents to a recent Ledger poll said the government should prioritize limiting immigration levels because the country might be reaching a limit in its ability to integrate them. Yeah, but that's just the first no. What if we told you that you wouldn't be able to have your standard of living that you can't afford now unless we import this 100 million people? Because that's exactly what they're saying. That's exactly what they're saying. And it's ridiculous. Back to this article. Said the report, which comes on the heels of an election campaign that saw People's Party leader Maxime Bernier put his face on billboards that read say no to mass immigration. Actually, Mr. Bernier did not put his face on billboards. Somebody else did, and then they got taken down because cancel culture is apparently just fine in Canada. No problem. Back to the article. A collection of executives with strong ties to government of all political stripes founded Century Initiative in 2013. The group's board consists of Mr. Barton, Willa Black, Goldie Hyder, Tom Milroy, Andrew Pickersgill, and Mark Wiseman. Mr. Barton was named Canada's ambassador to China in September and is a former global managing partner at a consulting firm, McKinsey & Company, and an advisor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And yeah, I'm going to get to all of that. He's actively giving advice to Justin Trudeau, and he believes this, right? And I don't think that his conclusions are borne out with the data, other than, yes, growth will continue to bring economic stimulus because an increasing market brings more people paying. It doesn't matter if it's the taxpayer kicking in the money for the people on the ground, right? It doesn't matter where they get their money, just the fact that the money's being spent in Canada will increase the economy, right? But is that what we want? Are we seeing positive benefits of this in Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal? No, we're seeing violence and balkanization, and people are sick of it. Yeah, but pay no mind. That's just the first no, right? You got to go back and you get that yes, ABC, right? Always be closing or you get the door. Back to the article. To support population growth that would see major cities triple in size, the report projects the Greater Toronto Area will become home to 33 million, while Montreal and Vancouver will each hit 12 million. Century Initiative recommends significant investment in infrastructure and education by both government and the private sector. However, the group's key message is that the Canadian government should hike its current target of 350,000 immigrants annually to 400,000 newcomers next year, and then boost that goal by 20,000 each year until 2026. At that point, Canada will bring in 1.25% of its total population each year, or more than 500,000 immigrants annually. And we already take in more than that when you include the temporary foreign workers, the students, and all of the other associated programs, refugees, illegal crossers, etc., that come in. We're taking in closer to a million people now when our targets for legal immigration are 350,000, just to be clear. Back to the article. To make a sharp rise in immigration palatable to current citizens, the report stresses a need for an education and marketing campaign that sells the merits of population growth. The Century Initiative member said, quote, despite the vital need for increased immigration to ensure Canada's long-term prosperity, Canadian public opinion around immigration is conflicted. It's not conflicted. It is not conflicted. A majority of Canadians don't want it. They don't want it. The answer is no. It's no. It's a hard no. I've closed the door in the salesperson's face. Back to the article. The group recognized that in Quebec, the prospect of newcomers pouring over the borders is a hot-button issue. Yeah, you think? I scroll down a little bit. The 88-page Century Initiative study pointed out that in the future, successful countries will anchored by densely populated cities, and said these mega regions bring social benefits. Properly planned greater density is energy efficient, reduces environmental impact, and delivers a high quality of life for residents, the report said. A low carbon economy requires scale, the group said. Underpopulation harms Canada's climate and ecological future in key ways. They don't mention that population is in lockstep with CO2 emissions. The higher your population, the more your CO2 emissions, right? So it's kind of funny that they just totally ignore that. They're saying, no, we can stack you more densely if there's more of you. And if you're all stacked really densely in really expensive little boxes, you won't have time to be angry about it, so we can bring even more of you. And you know what that does? Increases property taxes. Yeah, and increases income taxes. More money for the government to send to the UN for whatever they're doing with it at the UN. Yeah. Here's the Financial Post, and it says, call for immigration boom so Canada reaches 100 million people, a blueprint for more state intervention. And this is the Financial Post. I think I said that, but anyway. In October 2016, about a year after Justin Trudeau's Liberals were elected with a majority, the government's Advisory Council on Economic Growth's first report set out a bold agenda. Canada should aim to become a nation of 100 million by the end of the century. The council, headed by one of Trudeau's economic gurus, Dominic Barton, proposed increasing annual immigration to 450,000 a year by 2021, launching the country toward escalating prosperity created by skilled and talented people eager to build a nation of inclusive economic growth. Through the fevered immigration environment of the last 3 years, the objective has mostly faded from the policy agenda. In the wake of another election, Barton and other advocates of an immigration boom are back with another report on the same ambitious theme. The new report from the Century Initiative, an organization co-founded by Barton, reiterates the grand claims that a larger population is the key to a prosperous economic future. Quote, we believe that putting Canada on track for a population of 100 million Canadians in 2100 should be central to Canada's bold response to this century's challenge, the report said. Along with Barton, former global head of McKinsey and Company, and now Canada's ambassador to China, the Century Initiative's backers include Goldie Hyde, blah, blah, it doesn't really matter. They're looking for a bigger, bolder Canada that can trigger a national crusade for a new immigration boom is debatable. I scroll down. In the current economic and political environment, smothered as it is in angst about climate change and warnings of global overpopulation and man-made environmental crises, amid clashing cultural and religious nationalisms and border fencing plans, calls for opening Canada to more immigrants seems somewhat out of touch. To describe Canada today as a vast, underpopulated wilderness is itself politically incorrect. Such wilderness should be protected, not exploited by grubby humans looking for growth. The report tries to edge through the environmental arguments against a larger population by claiming that the existing trajectory of growth leaves Canada with a shortage of people to take on environmental challenges, including climate change. Building a low-carbon economy requires scale, innovation, and capital, says the report, and a small population, quote, limits the fiscal and human resources we need to move to a greener energy future. Yes, we need all of these people in order to bring forward the green energy. We haven't been able to do it so far, so you know what? We'll import all of these people who also haven't been able to do it in their countries. And somehow, it's going to work here for some reason. I don't know either. I don't know. Back to the article. The report's call for a bigger and bolder country is actually a blueprint for bigger and bolder government planning and significant government intervention, beginning with a call for a strategic immigration plan and leading to the development of a national child care strategy that includes policies to subsidize parental leave to overcome Canada's fertility gap. Neither this country nor any other can accommodate open border immigration, but the report's prescriptions come with a controlling and elitist slant. Immigrants would have to be selected through better systems to match immigrants to industries, sectors, and places where they are most needed and have the best chances of succeeding. Canada, it says, needs younger workers and an influx of highly educated professionals, skilled tradespeople, general laborers, and entrepreneurs. Well, I mean, there's something to be salvaged there. I mean, yes, you need to at least select people who will be successful in Canada, but that also comes as a double-edged sword because you're necessarily taking from another country that presumably needs those intelligent people, those movers and shakers, those people who are willing to build countries. Because what happens if you take all of those people and leave just the desperately poor and the unbelievably wealthy in the other country, right? Like, it doesn't make any kind of sense. Why aren't people and countries building themselves? Why aren't we investing in our children, in our young adults' ability to have children, and not taxing people to the extent where they can't afford their electricity and their rent and their food, in having a situation where housing is affordable? Why are we not allowing these things? Like, it is incredibly inappropriate to me to focus solely on immigration and to say that anything less is racist. It's incredible. It's crazy. Here's the Century Initiative. I went through this before. I'm not going to read this. This is already long enough as it is. But there's still stuff I wanted to show you. So here's the Century Initiative. Here's Mr. Barton on the Century Initiative founder board. Okay, so Dominic Barton, there he is. Here's a news article talking about Canada choosing Mr. Barton on September 6th or September 4th, I suppose, as the ambassador to China, ambassador to Beijing. And this is a positive article for Mr. Barton. And here's the original link to the show that I originally did about Mr. Barton and the fact that he was already giving advice to Mr. Trudeau. Here it is, openparliament.ca, Mr. Dominic Barton, chair of the Advisory Council on Economic Growth. So he is giving the Prime Minister advice on economic growth, and the economic growth that he's advising is being projected on at the Globe and Mail, right? Like, this is being told to us. This is what he's telling the Prime Minister, right? And it's trash. It's garbage. And it's not just Dominic Barton, and it's not just the Century Initiative. Here's the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. This is former Governor General Clarkson, and so she uses taxpayer money to run this initiative, this institute, excuse me. And message from our co-founders and co-chairs, it says, quote, this is Adrian Clarkson speaking here, quote, our vision at the ICC, the Institute for Canadian Citizenship, keeps in mind that eventually Canada's net population growth will be entirely attributed to immigration. Why are we okay with this? Why are we setting policies for this? Why are we promoting people to high-powered and very volatile and sensitive political positions when they're promoting these ideas, this growth idea that the majority of Canadians don't want? Talk about tone deaf. Mr. Trudeau was just reelected, right? And this is where we're going. This is the direction Canada is going. Emphatically, yes, absolutely, that's where we're going. And the election the other day proved it. There's nothing. I mean, what can be done? Mr. Scheer was uninspiring enough to only gain 26 seats and split his vote with the Bloc, who has a vested interest in keeping Trudeau in power because Trudeau likes Quebec and will give power to Quebec. Another pathway for Trudeau to complete his policies, to get them through the House, to get them through all the parliamentary votes that they need. Only 13 off from a majority, 157 seats for Trudeau. So, I mean, all of this is really interesting to me, right? Ahmed Hassan even kept his seat. Dancing with white supremacists worked, right? Unbelievable. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. We're on a runaway train. It feels like, did you ever play Donkey Kong Country? And in the train, the mine cars, where you're just going down the track and you have to do all the jumps? That's what we feel. That's what it feels like to me. Man, this video is already 17 minutes long. It's really long. I apologize, everyone. I'm diatribing a lot. I'm talking a lot. But when you have the majority of Canadians who don't want more immigration, and you have people in high levels of power who are advising the Prime Minister and then are being promoted to ambassador to China, I just can't help but feel, well, like there's not a whole lot we can do to stop it. So welcome to Canada, everybody. Come on in. Thanks for watching. Check out CanadaPoly.com, and there's a form there. I maybe haven't been really clear about that. If you go to CanadaPoly.com, if you go to the forums, you can chat with us. So you have to join, though. You have to join in order to read and in order to participate. Okay. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. This is concerning to me. Is it concerning to you? It's concerning to me a lot. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.